keep on trying. I'm about that life, never quit. I'm about that life, keep on striving. I'm about that life, keep on pressing. I'm about that life, keep on shining. I'm about that life, keep on dreaming. I'm about that life, never stopping. I'm about that life. It's a dream thing, y'all.
Vocal powerhouse, songstress, actress, belter, entertainer, performer, Broadway rising star. Just a few words to describe today's guest. Today on About That Life, Shelley Denton.
Shelly! Thank you for being on here today. It's good to
Course.
see you.
You
I have
too.
not seen you in a very long time physically. I've
Yeah.
just been, sort of admiring you from afar with all your amazing accomplishments on Instagram and social media. This girl is doing big things, man. How do I know Shelly? Let's see. I met Shelly, it had to have been 10 years ago, roughly around this time when we did Tarzan with 3D theatricals. Does that sound right?
It sounds right.
Okay, because I was like, if I met you in an audition before that, please forgive
No,
me.
no, no, no. I think that's right.
I just want to mention some of the credits that Shelley has accomplished. Most recently, Smash on Broadway. Yes, her big Broadway debut. She was on tour with Jagged Little Pill. She was in Something Rotten with Musical Theater West. She was in Parade with 3D Theatricals, Spamalot, Beauty and the Beast, and she was in Sister Act. Those are just some of her credits. I just wanted to give you a little pat on the back for
Thank you.
that.
Always feels good to revisit.
Just a little bit about your background. Why did you pursue a career in musical theater?
I started doing it when I was young. I had gone into a lot of different summer camps as a kid, and I was always a very like nervous, anxious kid going into camps. And theater camp always felt the most homey and comfortable to me. And so I think that was a good little peek into what life might look like in the future. And I got to high school and it kind of became a choice between volleyball and theater because I loved volleyball. I was doing club. It could be a year round thing, but theater could also be a year round thing if I wanted it to be. And I got to a point where I had to make the choice and I chose theater. Um, my dad wasn't too happy about it at first, but he's grown to love it. And I think from that point on, when like it came time to go to college and figure out what I was going to do at that point, I didn't really have a question in my mind as to, oh, I'm going to school for 4 years for something. What is that going to be? And it just made sense that it was going to be theater. I did fine in all other school aspects, but it's because I worked really, really hard at it. I didn't necessarily have a good time doing it. But theater just always felt easier and more enjoyable. And when I found out, oh, you can go do that in school, I was like, yeah, what? Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I spend 4 years getting to do the thing? So that's I think the thing that really propelled the rest of the career and understanding that in school, things might take you in a different direction. You might decide to go study something else. It might not be exactly what you had thought it was going to be, but I went through school and figured out how hard it was going to be, but also figured out that that was going to be the thing I wanted to challenge myself with. So I left school knowing I was still going to do that.
Hmm. Volleyball.
Mhm.
Wow, I didn't know that about you. Do you still play? I love
I
that.
I want to. I'm in New York now and I feel like I'll pass like Central Park and see, like volleyball leagues happening. It's been so long since I've played. I'm really scared as to what I would actually be able to bring to the table at this point, but I'm 5'9", so my height really helped me
Mm.
and I think I grew some confidence and some strength on the court and being able to like collaborate and have teammates and kind of save each other in that way. I really thrived in that kind of environment, but it almost became so competitive in a different way than theater competition is. I feel like theater
Mm,
competition, you're competing a lot with yourself as opposed to volleyball.
yes.
It's like it's directly against another team and you are winning. If you
Mm.
want to be good at it, you're winning. So I think that kind of threw me a little bit.
I love volleyball. That's actually one of my favorite sports events at the Olympics. So,
Right. I love watching it. The like the two
yes.
ones or the full teams. I love the beach volleyball ones though.
Yes.
That
You should get back out there, definitely. Get
try
out
it.
there, girl. Yes, absolutely.
I
I
love
mean,
it.
even if anything, it'll just be a great addition to your skill sets on your resume,
That's
just to
true.
heighten it more. They're
I
like,
still
"Can you
have
do
it on my
volleyball?"
resume. Yeah, I have it on there, but I've never been asked in a room to play volleyball yet. So I think
Mm,
I feel safe about keeping it on there because so far nobody's needed it. It's not like, when you put a language and then they ask you or an accent and then they ask you to do the accent and you're like,
yeah,
sorry, I lied. That's not, I don't know how to do
right.
that.
I did one line in this accent, right?
On the
I'm not
resume.
an expert. Right, exactly. Do
No,
you
that'd be
think do you think a person should have received their training from a musical theater program from a four-year university in order to be successful in a Broadway world setting?
I don't think it's necessary. I think what I got from it was important and kind of made me stronger, but I think the best education is being out there and doing it. Um,
Mm,
and my favorite like success stories are the people who maybe went and studied communication, business, finance in college, and it was still kind of a dream of theirs to be doing this. And somehow they found themselves on Broadway still, or they found themselves doing the regional contracts that fit into their other, 9 to 5 job. So I don't think it's at all necessary to get that education. And you can also grab all those classes out in the world too. All of the movement classes, the acting classes, the voice lessons. It might be a bit more work to go seek it out, and it's not a planned out program for you, and you might be trial and error with teachers that do and don't work for your style. But I think that's also kind of a gift where you get to decide that, as opposed to, in school you get the teachers and the people and the classes that you get that you're required to take. And while they can be super helpful, I think sometimes the rigidity of it can break people down in a way that doesn't allow that freedom and the expression that kind of keeps you passionate about what you do. It really depends on the person. I tend to thrive in a more scheduled, rigid plan. So I think school worked for me in that way, and I got a lot from it, but by no means is it necessary to do what we do.
you definitely gained a lot from that schooling, girl.
Oh, I
Definitely.
did. I did. Four
For sure.
years of it, and they don't take it easy on you. I think that's some of what you learn is the stress and the harsh that can come with the business itself, but you're also learning that as you're out in the business. So either way, you're getting all the harsh and lovely truths of what the industry is.
And can you mention your school for those
Yeah,
who might be interested?
I went to Cal State Fullerton. They have a BFA in musical theater program, which has changed over the years since I've been there. I graduated in 2015. Um,
That's
and
right.
yeah,
That's
feels
right.
feels weird to say now,
Yeah.
but that's where we're at. And they've done a lot of changeover and shifting and trying to figure out what the best way to kind of proceed with the program is. I've known a couple of like the program heads and teachers that have come in and
Mm.
out of that space. And when I was there, it was a pretty strict like cut program. So every semester you'd be auditioning to stay within the musical theater program. I think we
Wow.
started with maybe 60 people and ended with 10 by junior year. So that part of it is almost too realistic for the world when you're
Yeah.
trying to just like be a student. That's a lot. So I think they've changed that up a little bit since then, is to take some of the pressure off of the students because they're still learning and growing, and adding that kind of like you're either it or you're not in a situation, in a context like that, can be a little disempowering. So I think where they're landing and doing things now at the school, I hear is going really well.
Wow, Shelly, you are a beast.
Ugh,
60 to 10?
I
Jeez,
know.
girl. Wow. Okay. I mean, that sounds like it definitely prepared you for a competitive edge. I mean, not just, I'm sure, the volleyball
Yeah. Yes.
aspect of you and your athleticism also gave you a competitive edge, but coming from that kind of setting, geez, I had no idea. Someone I admire, Viola Davis, has talked about Juilliard and
Yes.
how that was kind of tough to get through. She made it through, but it was all about not being yourself. It was, becoming something else, and I can attest to that because I felt that way even when I was at AMDA. It was a lot about sort of fitting into the mold of whatever method they thought they needed you to achieve so that you could be, I guess, a workable actor, but also like you didn't feel like you could be yourself because you're also still learning yourself.
Yeah, you don't know who you are yet. How are you
Yeah.
able to kind of put that out there when you have both this we're still very much youthful, like we're not in
Mhm.
this complete adult mindset yet. So like you said, we haven't learned us, and then you have the extra layer of, but this is who we think you need to be. So you're really not kind of being asked to figure yourself out, and I'm hoping that that's changing a little bit in the education field with performance stuff, because then you go out into the world and learn that that's like really all you can do is be yourself, and
Yes.
it's either what they want or they don't, but you trying to fit into what they want never works. Never works.
And you also learned that the headshot thing is really not that deep.
It's not, let me tell you. And this time I tried to like relax into it. I wasn't taking weeks to pick out the shirts I was gonna wear. It wasn't about playing a character, on in frame. It really was. I spoke with my agent about it and they were like, we want you, like
Mm,
chest up, natural, beautiful, most authentic version of you, because that's what we can sell, especially from a picture. There's no way to sell you as anyone else but you in a
mm.
small, 8 by 11 shot.
How does it feel to be able to look at your resume and see Broadway listed on it? Walk us through the journey of being in the cast of Smash on Broadway. What was it like, the audition process? How long did it take before you were cast in the show? Were you a part of the workshop? I know that's a lot of questions, but just walk
Sure,
us
yeah.
through
All
it.
those together. Yeah, I was not a part of the workshop, so I joined the cast right as we were starting to rehearse for the Broadway run. Um, I wasn't too sure that that's what was happening when I got the offer, because they were a little bit under wraps about what the next phase was. So I don't think
Mm,
there was ever something that said, you know, Broadway like Broadway run, this is what we're casting for. So I thought, well, maybe it could be like an out of town thing that this is all about. But
mm.
I got the self tape for it when I was, of course, on vacation. I think that's always how it happens. And had my friends help me tape it, sent that in, and then it was for the swing role that I ended up getting. So it was a swing to cover at the time two specific tracks in the show, and a couple scenes, one song, and maybe 2 days later, I heard back that they needed to see me in person. So of course, you cut the vacation short because that's how it works. You either sign a lease or you book a vacation, and that's when things start happening. And I flew back to New York early, went in person, and it was a 1 day in-person process that, again, I don't think I knew the extent to which they were at in the process, but I walked in the room. They had us do a short jazz combo. Thankfully for me, was not a heavy dance role. They just needed to see you could move a little bit. So that
Yes, mover.
movers, we are the movers. And
Yes.
specific, but it can work as long as you got some rhythm and dedication, you're gonna be okay. So that was the first little bit, and they made cuts from that. There was 12 of us. They went down to 6, and then they asked the 6 of us to come back later in the day to sing and to read. So I went back home and kind of went over scenes and lines and took the sweat off my face, all that stuff, and came back, and I walked into the room and I saw like 2 rows of tables of people, and I was like, "Oh, this looks like a final callback. This doesn't look like we're at a point in the process where I'm going to be coming back. This is they're making a decision type of look." So
Mm.
part of me is relieved that I didn't know that ahead of time. I think there would have been pressure added that maybe wouldn't have been as helpful. So I was as prepared as I could be in terms of the sides and the songs, and came in, and the 2 characters I was reading for were very different. One was a 30-year-old like assistant choreographer director, and the other one is a 70-year-old acting teacher. So I had a couple props and things and pieces of clothing to help me with the 2 characters, and I read and I sang, and the people in the room seemed pretty receptive as they can be, watching so many people come in and out of the room all day. And I felt good about it when I walked out. I thought like that's kind of the best of what I could have brought to the table. Um, and it did seem like this wasn't something I was going to be asked to come back for unless there was a really hard decision to be made. But 2 days later, I think I got a call from my agent and their casting director saying, "We'd love to offer you this role of Swing." And I was like, "Oh my God, amazing. Like, what is this for though? Like, is this obviously it's for Smash, but like what are we going?" And he was like,
Right,
"Oh,
right.
this is for Broadway." And I was like, "Okay, g- great." Like that's in the back of your mind, but when there's no, yes, this is what's happening, I'm not going to assume that. I'm never going to assume anything. So that was in June, July, maybe August of 2024,
Mm.
and they had no dates or anything set. So it was very up in the air. We just knew that there might be something happening in December with like a reading, but that something was rehearsals wouldn't actually start till 25 in January. So it was a couple months before I got any sort of like contract or anything that told me like this is definitely happening. It was just kind of a looming, we want you for this, but there's no specifics yet. So you're living in the
Mm.
world of like theater, it could be pulled out from you at any time, and you got to be ready to let it go and move on. But something about this felt like it was, it was going to happen, and it was going to be set in stone once they got more specifics. So rehearsal started in January, and off we went. But it wasn't, I think I expected to like sweat and cry and bleed through a callback process and have to go in multiple times and be on pins and needles for however long before I found out that I got the job or that I booked Broadway. And this felt easier, and I think easier enough that I was like, maybe it's not going to happen. That was too easy. Like that kind of came at the right time in the right way, and I did what I needed to, and they liked what I did, and it felt like it lined up enough that I was like, it's too good to be true. But sometimes it does work out that way, and it very much was true, and I'm happy that that was the audition story. They're not all like that, but this one was a happy one, I think.
Hey, are you liking this episode? You are? Oh, thank you. Well, you know what you could do? You could hit that like button for me. And you know what else you could do? You can hit the share button. And you know what else? You could even hit that subscribe button. Yes, you could absolutely hit that subscribe button and help a girl out. That would be absolutely helpful. Thank you so much. Now back to the episode.
How did your family handle this, during this time of, you being on Broadway? I mean, were they excited? I'm sure they were, but like, how were they like during this?
It's the best part of the process for me is being able to share it with them, I think. So making making the call and getting to tell them and watching and feeling their reaction, wishing I could like be there in person with them as I'm sharing it, but they're obviously in Northern California. I'm here, so it wasn't something that I could bounce back and forth with, but they could not be happier, prouder. My mom is beautifully sensitive and emotional, and all of that kind of came with it. It's just a peak moment for everyone that's been involved in the process, because they have been. They were the ones paying for the theater camps and coming to all the shows and showing up to, any of the events that I would have loved the support at. And unfortunately, they didn't get to see me in the show at all. It's really tough when you are a swing and you don't necessarily know when you're going to be on stage.
Yeah.
And I kept telling them to hold off and wait until specific roles came up that kind of would be, I mean, everything would be worth their trip, but that really felt kind of like that peak Broadway moment that felt like, yeah, getting the tickets and the hotel and everything is really worth this. Um, but since we kind of came and went so quickly, those moments never came. And I think, unfortunately, my mom also at this point, health stuff is keeping her from being able to come to New York at all. So she knew it was going to be from afar that she'd be watching, which is tough for her, but I try to include them as much as I can because they deserve it just as much as I do at that point with everything they've put into it.
And they will get a chance to see you, I'm
Yeah.
sure, in a
Yeah.
very, prominent lead position
Thank you.
soon.
That's my hope.
I'm sure of it.
Love it.
And like you said, they're the winners as well as you are the winner in this situation. So that's absolutely beautiful. And what part of Northern California? Because I lived up there.
They are 20 minutes south of San Francisco in San
Okay.
Mateo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that. Yes.
In the Bay
Absolutely.
Area my whole life. They've been in same
Uh,
same house. I always get to go back to the thing that I know out there.
that's crazy. We did not talk about that at all.
When
we
were you
were.
out there?
I didn't even know that you were from California. We didn't ever talked about that
I
when
know.
we went tours there.
At what point in your life were you there?
I lived there 2010 to 2013.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What area?
I lived in what's it called? Vallejo, but
Yeah.
before that, San Pablo.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
Mhm.
Very nice. Yeah, that's
But
all people refer to it as, like, Bay Area, like kind of
yeah,
big space. But then
yeah,
when someone tells me that they know the area as well, I'll get a little bit more
yeah.
specific about where it is.
Mhm. And I wanna know what vacation were you on? Because I know that probably was hard to walk away from that.
Thankfully, it's vacation for me that wouldn't necessarily be considered vacation for other people, but I was visiting friends in Indiana who had a new baby, and I was getting to spend quality time with them, and,
I
we had
know who you're talking about.
and do you?
Yeah, I
Okay.
know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I love them. I
Yeah,
love them. That's great.
just the
I
best thing when your friends start having kids, and I feel like I, have birthed half of them myself, even though I'm so far from that. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I adore getting to be around them and playing with the kiddos.
I wanna talk about Parade real quick
Yeah.
because I saw it last week, girl. I cannot stop thinking about the show.
Did you know you hadn't
Uh,
seen it before?
I'd never seen it. I knew about it. I remember I was at this, Q&A with Steven Schwartz years
Okay.
ago. He came out to Ohio, and it was an opportunity for teenagers to sort of sing in front of him, and he'd give them feedback.
Sure.
And one of the people stood up and sang Parade, and he was like, "Oh, that's tough." Like, and I was like, I didn't know anything about the show, but he was like, "That's a tough song for somebody like you of your age to
Yeah.
sing."
Wow.
And because he sort of mentioned kind of what it was about. He didn't
Sure.
mention like the murder aspect. He was like talking more like rape. And I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
like, okay, like I
Mhm.
get it now. Why did this teenager pick that song? But I watched it and I was just like the whole time, like, wow.
Yeah.
Because I knew it was kind of dark. I knew it was a drama. And I was
Yep.
like, the title is very misleading. But then when you watch the show, you actually understand why it's called Parade. But
Exactly.
you played Lucille. Please
Mhm.
just walk me through that. Like, how was it being in that show? You know, what did you take away from that show and the fact that it's based on a real story?
Yeah. To date, my favorite role that I've ever done,
Mhm.
and I would give anything to do it again. It's so heavy and so taxing, but so worth it. Interesting because like it's not like she gets this happy ending or this payoff at the end of the story, but there's something so you're journeying with her emotions, and although it doesn't leave you in a settled place by the end, the whole point of why I do what I do is to connect and to feel with an audience and to kind of have them there with me. And that show and that role, if done well, does that. And it was, man, I was mid to young 20s when I did it. So I was young, and I think they took a chance in casting someone that young and feeling into an experience that big and that heavy, but I think they were very confident in their Leo Frank, who is Jeff Scowron, like one of the best actors and people that I know. I have loved that role since I was probably too young to love something that heavy. And being able to kind of be guided and be with Jeff as partners and trust him and trust that we kind of had each other throughout the process was the best thing that I could have asked for something like that. But it's like she's got the best songs and the best journey, and watching their love and their relationship kind of ebb and flow is so touching, and it's so the whole thing is just so melancholy. Like there's
Yeah.
not a lot of hope. So when you do get to find the moments of hope, like they're all the wasted time
Yes.
duet, seeing them reconnect, it's like it takes you to a completely different dimension. And I think there's so few shows that do that as brilliantly as this one does. So I got to see, I think the same production that you did that's
Mhm.
touring right now. I saw it when they did it at City Center, out
Oh,
here in New
yes,
York.
that's right.
Yeah,
They did it first there, yeah.
yes,
Oh, man. The fact that
incredible.
he no, look, okay, I didn't know all the stuff was happening in the first act. I didn't know
Oh,
all that was about to happen.
yeah.
So, because again, my friend didn't
It's
really tell
already
me anything. Yeah, I don't know a thing about it. So,
risky.
by the intermission, I'm like, I
Yeah,
was like, "All that just happened?" She's like,
yeah,
"Yeah,
and
majority
that's
of
just
the show
the
is
first
in court."
act. Yep.
I was like, "Oh my gosh."
Yeah.
Oh my god. And then, like, the fact is Leo Frank sat on the stage during intermission.
That's right. That's right, in his cell.
Yes. He
Yeah.
got up and moved a few times because when I
Right.
left, he was in a different position, so he was moving, he didn't just stay stagnant. Somebody
Sure,
came out and gave him some water, like a jailer gave him some water, but the
sure.
fact is that it just stayed in forever movement. It was life on stage, and I was
Yep.
just like and then, of course, the last moment, I I'm so happy they because I've heard a few productions where they actually have him like the lynching is actually you see it. He just dropped down to the stage,
Yes.
underneath it, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Because again,
Yeah.
I don't know that this is even real.
Oh, it's hard to believe that it is. It's so intense and it's so heartbreaking that it's hard to believe that that's a true story, and how much you connect and sympathize with so many different characters in that show is really rare. That you're, of course, you feel your good people and your bad people and your evils and your nice, but you get glimpses into everyone's like why, and then you can't help but to feel something for them, which like just
Mhm.
complicates the whole situation and plot and leaves the ending even more like both justified and unjustified, where you're like, I don't know, I don't even know what to do with this now. And I think that's kind of exactly how they wanted you to leave. Just
Yeah,
full question. You don't
fully
get,
accomplished. Because
yeah,
I was like, I really don't know what to do with myself, and then I actually went home and I listened to some of the music because that music is so good. The
yeah.
Factory Girl song, my gosh.
It's
Oh!
even those roles, I'm like, if I was that type, I would kill to play that, where they just get so much meat in this small amount of time. It almost feels bad listening to the soundtrack because like what the context is, but it's
Mhm.
good not to. You have to. I'm not like bopping to it, but
Yeah,
if
no.
I'm having a day where I need some like story, then I'm good.
Well, I mean, the gym song though is kind of hard not to bop to. That's
Really, which thank goodness that they give you one in there, they give you some where you can bop a little bit.
what sets Shelley Denton apart from other performers? What makes you stand out?
It's really gonna sound like I'm tooting my horn now. But
It's okay.
I think what I love about what we do is the storytelling. So I understand that I can kind of walk into a room and maybe belt higher than the last person, or show that, yeah, I have a soprano too and I'm very versatile and those things. But I think being able to connect to what's being said or sung or moved is something I've both worked hard with, and that can come easy for me if I'm in the right position. And I think in rooms, that's the thing that might come across the best for me, is if I'm settled into something and I'm prepared, I can tell you a story or let you know what the character's going through without doing a whole bunch of extra fluff. I don't need it and I don't like it. I like to be kind of as simple as I'm allowed to be in those spaces.
But boy, can she belt everybody. She can belt her
Doesn't
face off. Well, yes, she can.
uh
I saw clips of 9 to 5.
Oh,
What was your tour experience like being on tour with Jagged Little Pill?
mm, something I thought I would never experience that feels like such a modern, like, rock show that I was like, certainly that's not for me. And I had never toured before, and I didn't know if that was going to be on the docket for me. I think also because I'm not a super like well-traveled human, and travel can like take a lot out of me. So I was always nervous to even put myself in or say yes to those kind of projects because it's asking a lot. But I think that was a really great show for me to do that with. They had already been touring for a year, so I came in halfway through. So I think stakes were a little lower, which was good for me. I came in with a group of five. It was me and four other people. So we had some, like, a small group that you get connected with before you're having to blend into the entirety of the cast that's been there. That was very helpful. Um, and I was also just challenged in ways that I didn't think that I would be. That was a much heavier dance show for me than I would
Mm,
normally have been cast in. And I think very heavy on their list when casting is that I would be able to understudy their main role of MJ. That was kind of the big thing that, I had to be able to do besides holding my own in the ensemble. And man, the ensemble was the more challenging for me because it's keeping up with all these incredible dancers who can also sing and storytell. And um I grew a lot from that. I think gained a lot of knowledge about kind of what it means to be confident in what I do have to offer, and being okay with the fact that I'm not going to be great at everything, but I was still there for a reason. But I found wonderful people that I'm still connected with, and it kind of eased me a little bit more with all of my travel worries and anxieties that can come up. So I was grateful for that part of it too, as like, rough as it was in the time.
Well, Shelley, this has been a wonderful conversation, and we're coming down to the last question, which is, do you like yourself?
Mm, yes. I mean, easier to answer that question now than it was maybe even a year ago, but I think the that feeling of being proud and understanding that you're capable and you can overcome challenges and discomfort and I've put in a lot of work to make sure that I'm not living in, a super anxious, overwhelmed body all the time. And I think just that dedication to myself has to mean that I like myself. I'm not going to be doing that and putting all that work in if I didn't have the loving relationship with myself that I have with other people in my life too. I want things to be good. I want it to feel good. So I have to like me to be able to pull that off.
That's right. And you
Yeah.
pulling it off, girl.
I love that question. It's such a good so like, oh, do I like myself? It's so good.
Thank you. And
Yeah.
again, thank you for being on here, and I'm so happy for all the accomplishments, and I can't wait to see what else is gonna happen, you know?
Thank you. Thank you
I'm
for
happy.
asking me. This has been a joy. I don't get to do this often, so I love talking with you.
Yeah, I love learning more about you.
It's been a while, huh?
Yeah, and you gotta get back to that volleyball, girl. You
I'm
better
gonna do
do
it. This was a
it.
really good boost. I'm gonna try for it. I promise.
Yes, do it, yes. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you again to Shelley Denton, and I will see you next time on About That Life. Bye.
Thank you so much for watching today's episode. I enjoyed it. I certainly hope you did. And tune in next time when I sit down and talk to one of the most beautiful voices ever, the phenomenal Dominique Patton. You don't want to miss it. See you next time.